Okay. Get your mints. Everybody ready?
Yep.
Okay. We'll call the November 9th, 2022 meeting of the Norfolk Public School Committee to order. We'll begin our meeting, as we always do, by reading the mission statement. The Norfolk Public Schools offers a safe, joyful, and challenging learning environment that meets the needs of our diverse students. Through school, family, and community partnerships, we provide an education that inspires lifelong learners and cultivates caring and productive citizens of our ever-changing world. Roll call, please. From the cheap seats, maybe, down there?
Barry Nectel.
Victoria Saldana.
Lisa Sheldon.
Sarah Ward.
Shannon Meneses.
Medora Champagne.
Ingrid Alardi.
Okay, committee member Wynn will be joining us early into the agenda. I think she is tied up in traffic. So the first order of business tonight is public comment. Any member of the public who so wishes can make a brief public comment. I'm not seeing anybody raising their hand or indicating that they want to do that, so we will move on to the next item on our agenda, which is correspondence. And I'm super excited about this correspondence when I saw it in the packet. So this is from the Norfolk Recreation Department. Director Ann Proto is writing to the school committee I don't think I need to read the entire thing, but is writing to the school committee to request I think access to the fields and parking area at the Freeman Kennedy School on Community Day this year, which is scheduled right now to be June 10th, 2023. The wish of the rec department is to set up a fireworks display that would be similar to the display that happened following the parade last year. So that is the request that we have. I don't think that it needs a vote at this point.
It doesn't need a vote because the rec actually owns those fields. They're more writing as a courtesy to let you know they did check to make sure that it's not going to conflict with any school-based events. And they wanted the committee to be aware in case you had any concerns that we could make sure that they're addressed in their plans. But they are working with the fire department, the police department, and the town administrator on coordinating this event. So they want to let us know early, and if there's any concerns the committee has, I can certainly bring them to Ann and make sure they're addressed.
Fantastic. I think the only possible conflict would probably be with either softball or baseball, but they own the field, so that's on them. So I'll just plan on there not being any softball games on June 10th and proceed accordingly. All right, the next item on our agenda is it's my portion of the festivities, the school committee chair report. We have a few items tonight that require a vote. So first, we have a fee waiver request from the Friends of the Norfolk Public Library relative to the book and bake sale that usually happens in April each year, which is a big fundraiser for the local library in town. I believe they're requesting that the facility fee be waived for their use of the gym they use, right?
Yeah, they would like to use the gym to set up for their book fair. I did talk with them and talk with Matt. They would be responsible for custodial fees beyond the school day because we can't pay from school funds to supplement the fundraiser, but they're asking that we don't charge them the rental fee for the gymnasium as it's a fundraiser to benefit the town.
Okay, so we would be looking for a motion to waive the fee associated with the book and bake sale for the Norfolk Public Library this spring.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
So I believe Sarah is going to abstain for the record. So any further discussion beyond that? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is, boy, our cup really runs over this year. Every meeting there's a school gift fund vote going on. We have a gift this year, or this meeting, to approve from Dave Young's Children's Literature Foundation in the amount of $500. It's a donation to the FK Library. So we're certainly appreciative of any donations to the library. Looking for a motion to accept the gift as stated.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And again, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next, we have a request to bargain from the Norfolk Teachers Association. The current NTA president, Tracy Trombert, has written to request opening the bargaining and negotiations for the successor agreement to the 2020 through 2023 teacher collective bargaining agreement. So we actually need to do.
We need to appoint a negotiating team.
So that's usually 2 members.
Two members of the
correct?
school committee to negotiate with the teachers for the successor contract. And then the final contract proposal is brought back to the full committee for vote.
And will that just be the rest of the school year, or would it be taking place?
So they're requesting to open bargaining now. We talked in the timeline, they'd like to start in January. It's pretty tough to get everybody together for meetings over the next 5 weeks. So starting in January, we typically meet one evening a week for negotiations. Sometimes we have a 2-week interval between meetings. And the goal would be to resolve the contract before the date of expiration, which is in the end of June.
So I think the last round, actually, we went through kind of 2 rounds.
We
for
did
this,
2 rounds
yeah.
of negotiations, and Paul Cochran and Thomas Doyle negotiated both the last 2 contracts.
No, I was for the second half.
For this,
There was like a.
yes, we
addendum-
carried it
yeah,
over.
yeah,
Yes,
okay,
you're
I
right.
remember,
They
okay,
started,
okay.
and then you.
Right, I jumped because Paul was done on the committee.
Right.
Okay, so for the sake of consistency, would be happy to do that again, unless we have 2, willing participants who really, really feel strongly about doing that, but we would need at least 1 more.
Yeah, one more.
Yep. Or I can just start pulling straws.
I can't. at
No,
the
I know,
time.
and you're on the
KP.
KP. You're
Experiment
excused
major.
for further recreational.
Yeah.
If no one else can do it, I will. I would prefer to see one, as this is my first year on the committee.
So
But
maybe if
you need someone,
Maybe if Lisa and I both did it.
We have to appoint, we can't have a quorum in the school committee. It has to be
okay.
2 members, and they have to be consistent throughout the bargaining
Okay.
process. So we have to name who's.
It was,
who's-
and I'm not saying this in any way to belittle the importance of the process, but it was relatively painless. I don't mean the negotiations, I mean the time, it was fairly well-scheduled and flexible as far as when we were meeting, is my recollection.
Yeah, we'll spend the first meeting developing a calendar and scheduling out the meetings to make sure that they work for everybody. And it is, people were flexible about trying to find a time that worked for everyone. And we
I
also
think-
capped the length of the meeting.
I think there were only maybe 3 meetings. For me, I don't know about Paul and Thomas.
There were
and-
probably
yeah.
8 before, so I would say 8 to 10.
And it's from
Plan.
January to,
We never know how, sometimes
Okay.
we're done in March, sometimes it might be April. It
longer.
depends on when we reach agreement. But it would be over the winter and early spring, the negotiations.
you cleared it for me, Medora, too. I would be interested, too. I just was concerned about the time commitment. But if it's fairly,
Well, we'll be.
And
in
it is
together.
well scheduled in advance.
Remember. Yeah, I found it to be fairly flexible. Okay, so do we,
My work's more local than yours.
are you guys still negotiating who's going to do it? Or are we-
I'll just do it.
you were just saying,
It's fine, I know.
you decide. I'll do it.
No, I'll do it. Put me down.
We can also, if you want further information, you want to meet with me and talk about the process, and we could vote at the next meeting, that
Yeah,
would be
we
okay,
can
because we're not
postpone
going to
it.
start
No,
till
it's fine.
January.
I've done negotiations for a union before, so
Okay.
I'm probably the most
Okay.
familiar already
As long
with
as
it.
you're not going to pass out.
So do we need to vote to nominate myself and Sarah to be
Yep.
on? Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to nominate myself and Sarah Ward to be on the negotiation team for the NTA contract negotiations.
I'll make a motion to nominate Medora Champagne and Sarah Ward to be on the negotiation committee, or bargaining committee with the Norfolk Teachers Association.
And a second?
Second?
Okay, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the last item on the school committee chair report is a super exciting one. The selection committee for the feasibility study met with 3 candidate firms, I guess about 2 weeks ago. We did that all in one go? Yeah. And after having interviews with all three, we met in deliberation and elected to award the contract for the feasibility study to, I want to make sure I say their full name correctly, I think it's just AI3, an architectural firm that will undertake the feasibility work that we need to have done in association with a possible expansion at the Freeman Kennedy School. So the proposed contract is in your packet as Exhibit 5. So I'm sure you've all taken time to review it in advance of the meeting, but you can take a moment now and if you have any additional
Sure,
thoughts you want to
just a
share.
couple of things. So the contract that you see in front of you is the contract that the town council uses for all Norfolk projects. So legal counsel has reviewed the contract extensively, and we are using the town's traditional contract for services. In the second round of bid specs, we had 5 companies submit proposals. So the first stage, we had a rubric for reviewing and evaluating all of the 5 submissions. The selection committee chose 3 firms to bring in for presentations and interviews. Those are all recorded, so anybody can see any of the interviews. They're all on Norfolk Cable. There were 2 really strong showings, but I think, as Medora said, the AI3 stood apart in the sense that they had a lot more experience working with the Mass School Building Authority, which we are still hoping that we might get invited into a project. Very professional, polished presentation, and I think they'll do a great job. So Medora and the team met, and we've negotiated the contract. Town meeting awarded $250,000 for the scope of work for the feasibility. This contract comes in within that with some potential additional work that we would like to have done. The traffic study pushes it to $268 is the total. We have been in negotiations with the town to find some additional funding to supplement this, and also looking within our budget, but I do think that we should move forward and that we can find those additional $18,000 to do all of the work that needs to be done within this timeline.
Oh, and one other footnote to the rundown Ingrid just gave, one of, for me at least, that this firm only does educational facilities. They
Yep.
only do schools. So it's.
And the MSBA actually brings them in as an expert.
Yep, consulting.
So I was thrilled that, as Ingrid said, all 3 of the final candidates were fantastic. I don't know where everyone was during the first round of the RFP process, but they all showed up for the second one. So
That's right.
Delayed. Fantastic. So we would be looking for a motion to award the feasibility contract to AI3.
I move to award the contract to AI3.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion or?
No, I think Ingrid, I just had one question. There's no concern about getting that additional 18 to cover that?
No, I think we have a couple of different possible ways that we could do that. We were talking to the town about potentially accessing some ARPA funds that they have available, but they have to go to the select board to get that approved. But I think that's a good viable source. We also can look at our facilities rental and some other potential ways of supplementing the $18,000 difference.
Okay, great, so multiple streams.
But I think we'll be able to work something out with the town.
Okay, if no further discussion beyond that, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Moving on to Ingrid and the superintendent's report.
All right, great. The first thing that we have tonight, last year, Colleen Whiting, one of our occupational therapists at the HLF Day School, was interested in doing some research, and she came and presented her research proposal to you to look at services to students, and she has finished the study and asked to come back to share her findings. So I'm going to have Colleen come up right to the microphone, and she will provide you a summary of her research and results.
You gonna stand?
I was going to stand, yeah.
Okay, good.
Do I need to go by the microphone?
You just pointed at her, I think we'll be
Okay.
okay. Perfect.
So I just wanted to come back to share with you that I was successfully completed my research study, And the results from the study are going to be, it's the first study that's ever been done looking at sensory intervention in a school setting, done by a school-based practitioner, and it was just accepted for publication in the top journal actually in the world. It's the first one ever to be published ever on this subject. So it's very exciting. It's causing, I'm hoping that it's going to really cause a nice ripple effect of more evidence-based building with school-based practitioners. And I was actually featured last month on a Health Matters podcast talking about school-based practitioners getting involved in research. So I really wanted to come back and just share that exciting news with you and let you know that by empowering me by doing that, hopefully that will empower more and to get more evidence and having more effective services for kids. So I just put together a very short little presentation on just to remind you, I was looking at the effectiveness of the intervention that I was already doing with sensory integration intervention paired with a consult with teachers and how effective that intervention was, because there was not anything in the literature, and I knew from working with the kids that it was working out really well. Whoops.
Thank you.
So I had 3 students that I had in the study that were in kindergarten and first grade, and we did 15 weeks of intervention in which they saw me twice a week, and I did a 10-minute consult weekly with the teacher. And what I did was I videotaped the students within the classroom and had the videotapes rated by a blind rater that looked at active participation and functional regulation. I was looking to see if kids were improving in the real time in the classroom from the intervention that I had given them. The other pieces that I did is I did some pre and post measures. I worked with the parents and the teachers to develop goals for things and concerns within the classroom. And I also added in interviews for the teachers and the students so that I could hear their voice of the lived experience of going through the intervention and whether or not they felt it was helpful. So for the results, I had all 3 students that had significant improvement in their functional regulation and their active participation as a result of the intervention. I had all of my pre-post tests come back with significant improvement. I had all of my kids either meet or exceed their goal areas. And really excitingly, I felt like the interviews the teachers really felt like they learned a lot from working with me, that they felt that it not only helped those students, but other students within their classroom. And the kids really reported working with me and having that experience, a lot of discussion around feeling safe and joy and really being seen and really feeling helped and feeling like they were now doing better in the school setting. And I just included, if you're more of a numbers person here, you'll see in the baseline where the kids, one of the students was for functional regulation, and then after the intervention is the drop line. Those are all the points after intervention, so you can see even a lot of those are hovering around 100%. And to be significant, I needed 3 consecutive points to be above that band. So you can see all 15 weeks were actually above the band for that. And then an example of another participant for active participation. This was the participants one's participation percentage of time to begin was all 20% and below. And you can see for the intervention, again, it was hovering up between 90 and 100%. And we saw that across for all 3 kids. So it's just really exciting news, and I just really appreciated your support and just wanted to give you a quick summary. So thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats.
That's awesome.
And congratulations to Colleen on earning her doctorate as a result of this research. And as Colleen said, her research is being featured in the podcast and as well as in journals for publication. So it's a great benefit for our system, but also to benefit the field as a whole. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Did anyone have questions for Colleen? Or thank you so much, Colleen.
Can I just add one thing too?
You sure can, but you have to come to the mic, Linda, because they're videoing.
Just a small comment, sorry. I just wanted to add that as wonderful as this research report is and that those 3 children and the improvement that they made, what Colleen adds to our school every day with what she teaches our teachers, what she teaches the children, the effect that she's had on educating all of us about sensory integration, about calming corners, and all that is invaluable. That didn't get in the study, but it's priceless.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lydia, for pointing that out. That's absolutely true. Okay. Next, Lisa Altham-Hickey is here tonight to talk about the Wreaths Across America program. As you've probably seen in the letters, you approved the fundraiser at the last meeting, but we've also partnered with the town so that the town will be able to make this mobile exhibit available to the public after school. So.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me tonight. I just wanted to kind of give a brief overview of Wreaths Across America and how it came to fruition here at Freeman Kennedy School. So this evening, I'd like to share some exciting news with our school committee, students, staff, and the Norfolk community. Last spring, one of Adam Kennedy's best friends, Joseph Regan, contacted me. He shared that they both attended Norwich University together. Currently, he is the director of the Military and Veterans Outreach for Veterans for Wreaths Across America. Mr. Regan shared the mission behind Wreaths Across America, which is to remember, honor, and teach all about veterans. He asked me if we could make a stop in Norfolk to honor Adam and all the veterans near and far. So on Wednesday, November 30th, 2022, Wreaths Across America mobile education exhibit will visit and make a stop in Norfolk at Freeman Kennedy School. The mobile exhibit will be available to all school staff and students from 7 to 3 p.m. and then will open to the Norfolk community from 4 to 7 p.m. We will hold an assembly that morning for Freeman Kennedy staff, students, and invited guests. In addition, we will honor Adam Kennedy by laying a military wreath on Adam Kennedy's memorial in front of our Freeman Kennedy School on that day. Wreaths Across America is a 501c3 nonprofit organization founded to continue and expand the annual wreath laying ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery, which began in Maine by a businessman named Morrell Worcester in 1992. The organization's mission, as I talked about before, is to remember, honor, and teach, is carried out in part each year by coordinating wreath-laying ceremonies in December in Arlington, as well as thousands of veteran cemeteries and other locations in all 50 states and beyond. This year, the wreath-laying in Arlington will take place on December 17th, 2022. One of the other things that they do is they have a convoy of 40 trucks that actually starts in Maine and comes through and stops at actually many schools along the way until they actually reach Arlington. And Joe really wanted the convoy to stop here too. And of course I said absolutely yes, that we would do anything to honor Adam, and especially since he had such a really connection with Adam and went to school with him. This year it just didn't happen, but he also talked about this mobile education exhibit that we could actually bring to share, to our students. And then I asked Dr. Lardy, because I really wanted it to be a community event, so that we could share it with many people in our town and that they would have an opportunity to visit that. So we are excited. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank basically the Norfolk Town Manager, Mr. Justin Casanova Davis, for partnering with us to bring this event to our school. I'd also like to thank Dr. Alardi, the Superintendent of Schools, the Norfolk Fire and Police Department, our Facilities Department, and the entire FK staff who spent many hours with me planning for this big event that's coming on November 30th. So I'd like to just show you a very quick video, basically, of what this is going to kind of look like here at Freeman Kennedy School on that day. Dr. Lardy has been super helpful, and there is a press release that has already been released, so that has been released as well. And then we've been sharing, obviously, with both schools, you know, how anybody can actually sponsor a wreath as well. So I'll also be sharing information tomorrow at our Veterans Day Assembly at Freeman Kennedy School. We're very excited. We have 60 veterans that are all grandparents, parents, aunts and uncles that will be in the audience tomorrow as well. So.
People see us, they wave, they honk.
It is such a cool experience for a town to have this come.
I'm so excited, and it's here, Race Across America Mobile Education Exhibit.
What is the mobile education exhibit? It's a 48-foot trailer designed to help us get in touch with the public about who and what Race Across America is all about.
Remember, honoring, teaching. That's what we're doing today.
I didn't know until I showed up down here, and I was well educated by the gentleman inside.
Race Across America started in 1992. We talk to people about remembering the fallen, honoring our veterans and our service members, and also teaching the youth of today what freedom means and what the sacrifices were for those freedoms.
Everybody needs to experience this. I think they should understand what we were fighting for.
You need to invite this to your town. Honor your veterans. You want to honor your community.
You never know who's going to walk through the door. Thank you. Welcome to home.
We have a veteran in every engagement that has happened, and they have sacrificed their lives and fortune for our freedom.
Thank you very much. It's always an honor that somebody wants them to say, you know, congratulations or welcome back.
The reason we do anything is because of the sacrifice that they made for us. And we need to honor those veterans.
This mobile exhibit goes all around the country.
If you've got an idea for an event, reach out to us.
They will never be forgotten as long as we can continue this tradition. And this exhibit trains people up.
Everybody that came walked out in awe of what Race Across America has done and continues to do.
Informational, educational, it was very nice. We really appreciate it.
I think it's really cool.
I completely agree with him. It's a great program. I can't say enough of it. I'm so excited that you guys came here.
Unbelievable. That's the only word I could think of. It's unbelievable what they're doing.
So just to talk about a few other things too, Joe actually is not able to come. I was hoping he was going to be able to come to actually talk to our student staff a little bit about Adam, because he knew Adam, you know, obviously when they were in college together. But our morning show students are actually going to interview actually Joe, and we're going to pre-record that, and we'll show that on the day basically of the assembly. So we're excited about that. A couple other things that, you know, we're doing too is we have a few people, grandparents that were not welcomed home in the Vietnam War. So there's 2 ambassadors that actually drive the mobile exhibit. And those ambassadors actually will welcome home and pin them. So some of the grandchildren who are in our school will actually be part of pinning their grandparent and welcoming them home as an official Vietnam. So like I said, police and fire have been meeting with me behind the scenes too. There's going to be a ladder truck actually across from the mobile exhibit with an American flag there as well. So it's been exciting. It's something new that I never knew about, and I was so glad that Joe actually reached out to me, and I did put basically said I would be happy to do the convoy with a lot of planning, you know what, next year, if that could happen as well. So I encourage the entire community to come out, you know what, and go through that mobile exhibit with their children, you know what, from 4 to 7 on Wednesday, November 30th. And it's going to be an exciting event. So I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Convoy's pretty cool. I saw it in Maine.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And everyone pulls over.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 40 trucks, they say, yeah, yeah. And they say there's a lot of volunteer trucks, basically, you know what, that volunteer to drive those trucks from Maine to Arlington, so, yeah. So.
Thanks, Lisa.
Yep, thank you. Yep.
Okay, next tonight we have Barry Nectow here. He's going to do the quarterly budget report. But if you don't mind, just before we turn it over to Barry, I just wanted to recognize, it's not on the agenda tonight, but this month is a National CPAC Awareness Month. The CPAC is the Special Education Parent Advisory Council. And they were going to come tonight, but they're coming to the December meeting to provide an update to the committee about the projects that they work on. But I just wanted to recognize and give a shout out to the Norfolk CPAC. They do incredible work. They just hosted recently the Trunk or Treat fundraiser over at H Olive Day, which is a huge event. Lots of people come out. But beyond the fundraising, they coordinate and they plan special programming for parents, information about special ed, the programs and the processes, parent rights. They brought consultants in on November 22nd because it's Disability Awareness Month as well. They're bringing a puppet show into the H Olive Day School, and they just do incredible work. And it's, as a school committee, it's a lot of time and volunteering. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the CPAC and recognize their hard work and efforts during CPAC National Awareness Month. So, and thank you for coming. And we'll hear more about their programs and what they're doing for this year at the next school committee meeting. Barry, I'll turn it over to you for the budget update.
Thanks. So this is the current year budget, first quarter budget update. So that's fiscal 23. If you turn over to page 1, so that's a pie chart depicting our current year budget, which is $14,442,000. About 83% of that is instruction. And I wanted to just go to the instruction page for a minute. We talk about what it means to be projecting the budget spending in the first quarter. And I'd like to say it's the least accurate projection because you basically, for instruction, which is approximately $11,900,000, you basically say we're going to spend all of our salaries, teachers, all of us, plus whatever you've sort of spent to date, and then you kind of make a guess at like what are you going to spend on supplies, services for the rest of the year. And you do that after 1 month of school. So it's not tremendously accurate. We get it as close as we can. The one thing I can say is it'll change, and by the end of the year, we'll probably have spent almost every penny of the budget. I just wanted to point out that the pie chart shows about 82%, and that's about $11,900,000 on instruction only. Next page I wanted to go to was 10. And 10's a summary of where we are today, again, based on the current projection. And if everything happened exactly the way I projected it to be, then we would end up with $386,000 of unspent money. However, as I said, we've only had 1 month of school when we do this projection, so we'll spend it all. But that's where, if you were to open the general ledger, that's what it would look like after the first month of school. On the next slide is our special revenue funds. And as you know, we have several grants and several revolving accounts. Our total grant funds spent to date, again, this is through 9/30, is $48,713, and that's out of about $335,000. So just getting started as of 9/30 spending the grants. And also on the revolving side, we've spent $193,000, and that's basically the lunch program, salaries in our preschool revolving account, and the SAC program. Again, all those will change quite dramatically as we go forward. And then the last page is a summary of where we are in our gift fund. We began the fiscal year with about $48,000 in the account. We collected, received donations of about $2,000. We've spent a little over $10,000, so we sit with a balance of about $36,000, and that's used to supplement our teaching and learning programs throughout the year. So, as I said, first quarter, the least interesting, least accurate, but we get it as close as we can, and we're sitting in very good condition today.
And Barry, I just want to jump on in and just for perspective, some of the projected savings right now in the instruction line is because we have positions that have been budgeted that we have not been able to fill. So we're still looking for a 0.5 math specialist. Yep. We also have some paraprofessional positions that were budgeted that we have not been able to fill at this time. So as we fill those positions, that projection will change.
Sure will.
On the facilities end, we're a little bit concerned about the cost of heating the buildings over the course of the year, as everybody is. So there's a lot of variables that come up over the winter and as things progress. And we'll provide the second quarter update. Is that January?
It'll be effective 12/31, either in January or early February.
Yeah.
That's 0.5 math interventionist, because all our specialists, our positions have been filled.
It's the interventionist, it's the additional 0.5, right. Any questions for Barry?
Do we lock in for heat? I know, I feel like I asked this.
We have in the
I've asked
past.
this before. Right.
We did not this year lock in because it's just too variable.
And that's a shared decision with the town, isn't it?
Well, we did, yes, I would say, because we merged certain departments, we partially merged the facilities department with the town. So certain expenses for facilities are carried on the town side because it increased their negotiating power. So waste management, sprinkler, fire system, maintenance, those kinds of things. But yes, because we have one department, we would make that a shared decision. Any other budget questions for Barry?
So what happens if the heat goes bananas? Like, where does that money get taken from?
We would probably have to go back to the town and ask for a budget supplement, probably in the Springtown meeting. It's not uncommon for departments to do that. We haven't in the schools, but others do. So if things go crazy, that's probably where we would end up having to go.
Unless, like last year, we thought we might have to go forward because of the increase of expenses we incurred in the special education realm. If we end up with other savings, because, for example, we have a budget line for substitutes. It has been incredibly hard to find substitutes. So there's, even though we have a need, sometimes we can't get people in. So if we had savings in another area, we might, by that point of the year, be able to say confidently, we can come to the committee and request a transfer. But if we can't, then we would have to go to town meeting.
So it kind of depends on how bananas it goes?
Not gonna work.
To use
And,
Jeff's.
yeah,
If it goes
across
a
the
little
board.
bananas, we can keep it in-house.
Exactly.
You just need to keep an eye on the measure of bananas.
Absolutely.
Just send your children to school with sweaters, please.
Any other questions for Barry on the budget update? Okay. Next I have for you, per policy, I share with the school committee every quarter the number of bullying incidents that have been reported and investigated by building. This quarter, and the first quarter goes through November 1st, there were 2 discipline issues or reports of bullying behavior at the Freeman Kennedy School. As you know, and it's posted right on our website, we have a district bullying prevention and intervention plan as well as a policy. So when we get a report, the building administrators follow the guidelines of the intervention plan and do a full, thorough investigation. At the conclusion of those investigations, both incidents at Freeman were determined to meet the criteria for bullying. And in those cases, we put appropriate supports in place for anybody who was a victim or target of bullying behavior, as well as appropriate disciplinary measures in place for aggressors. At the H. Olive Day this quarter, there was 1 discipline issue reported, and it did not meet the criteria for bullying. Sometimes it's a developmental or a discipline issue that needs a different approach, so appropriate actions are taken based on the circumstances involved. Again, we continue to use our social emotional learning curriculums, Open Circle at the H. Olive Day, Second Step at the Freeman Kennedy, and we use the Second Step bullying prevention across the board, across the district K to 6. And those lessons are also supplemented by lessons from MARC, the Massachusetts Aggression Reduction Center. So I don't think, we're not seeing, I know when we first came back from the pandemic, we were seeing those numbers increase. They seem to have come back down. So we'll continue to monitor that closely. Any questions on that?
Okay. One, actually, Ingrid.
Yeah.
If it happens in a report where it's HOD or Freeman, if it happens at SAC, how does it determine?
We work with Tony on that.
Okay, so that's a separate
Yes, and her staff have all been trained in identifying bullying behavior. She would do the investigation through SAC. They follow similar consequences, and they use our code of conduct as a guide for how to respond as well.
Okay, great. So that's not included in these counts? It would
No.
be separate? Okay.
No.
Great, thank you.
Okay. The next thing in your packet, as you're aware, we are part of the Bi-County Collaborative. It's an educational consortium that provides special ed services in multiple public school districts and in a couple of private campuses for students that have unique needs that you can't meet within your district. Per policy, we provide a quarterly update to the school committee of the progress of BICO. Last spring, we were concerned about the financial situation BICO was in, because what was happening, and this is happening to collaboratives across the Commonwealth, a lot of districts have worked hard to build strong internal programs to keep students in district, because it's better for students whenever you can do that to keep them in district. And it's also more fiscally responsible for districts. So collaboratives are seeing a lot of the students they have traditionally served being provided educational services within their home district. So enrollment was down last spring. And we were also seeing a trend for the types of services that school districts were looking for support from BICO were really around intense social, emotional, behavioral challenges that students were struggling with. And they only had so much capacity to absorb into those programs. So we've been looking at that closely. We were really pleased that enrollment is up significantly again this year, so the financial picture's gotten to be a lot better for BICO. But this just gives you a breakdown. We have asked for BICO because what we wanted to see was they take students that from member districts at a discount, and then they also take tuition students from other districts that are looking for programs. So we were really looking to see, as the board, how many of our member districts were being served by BICO, how many students were they able to accept, how many referrals were they getting, how many had to be declined, so that we could really look at programming options. But I think that the collaborative is in better shape. The director is meeting with all of us to try to see students they're not able to serve within their programs. Is there an opportunity to create new programs that would better meet the needs of some of the sending districts? So we're working on that with BICO. But first quarter looks really good. So that's good to report. Any questions on BICO? Okay, one other thing for me tonight, and this I just wanted to let everybody know because we've talked about this before, and I know you know we presented last year to the select board. The previous town manager had been working with all of the departments to put together a new long-term capital plan for the town of Norfolk. So all of the departments, including the schools, were asked to submit what we saw over the next 5 years as major capital expenses. I know when Matt was here, he gave you a very detailed report on the boilers and the septic needs that we have. But one of our other major capital requests was technology replacement. So to be on the capital plan, the expense has to be over $25,000. Is that correct, Barry? Still the threshold? And then it can go to the town. Because the Freeman Kennedy School was built, and all of the technology was purchased at the same exact time, and it was purchased 2 years before the building was even built, because that's how the process works with MSBA. All of the equipment in this building is aged out. It's beyond its useful life expectancy. Every classroom has a smart board that are used to bring science instruction to life, to make things more interactive. They're a very powerful instructional tool. So we have an anticipated need to replace and upgrade just the technology in the Freeman Kennedy. I think in the plan that you can see, it's about $150,000 to spend in fiscal '23. We had put a capital request forward to the town, and it is included on the warrant for town meeting next week. So if the town votes to appropriate funding for the capital requests that are in year one of the capital plan, then we would receive the funding to do this replacement outside of our operating budget. that we presented to the select board the 5-year tech plan, which you can see in front of you, which our tech team has done a tremendous job of inventorying all of our equipment, looking at useful life expectancy, and developing a replacement schedule that's sustainable. So this would be the first step in that long-range plan, is upgrading the Freeman Kennedy. Last year, they did the phone systems and the security cameras. So this is on the town meeting warrant. The vote is next Tuesday night, and it's at the middle school in Norfolk. So hopefully people come out and support the capital request.
Ingrid, I have a question.
Yes.
Obviously, technology isn't going away, and we're going to have to look at improvements every single year because of how fast everything moves. Do we ever look at grants or anything? Do we ever apply for technology?
We get a lot of our equipment through grants.
Through grants,
Yes,
okay.
yeah. So a lot of the equipment you see in the makerspace, the robotics equipment, has been procured through different business grants and different state-funded grants.
Okay.
The tech replacement, there isn't a lot out there for, which is why that's on our capital request, but we do buy curriculum materials, engineering and design materials, and a lot of that, the software and programs through grant funding.
Okay. We also partner with our tri-counties sometimes too, like we partnered on a grant
Yes.
a couple of years ago, all the high school in Norfolk and Rentham did in the middle school, and that also allowed us to procure some robotics too. So we always look for opportunities to kind of leverage that as much as possible.
Yeah. And a big grant for the digital literacy.
We did, yeah.
Looking at that standard.
Do we have touch views yet in the classroom?
Uh,
Do we have touch views? Touch views? Like smart, like,
Yeah.
like
every
smart
classroom.
boards, but they can do everything.
Our boards are like this one, you mean?
Not
They're
like
interactive, that you can touch them, that you can drag
touch
equipment.
them, you can write, they have like
Yeah.
S-Write, and you can get on the browser, and you can
Yep.
have
These
e-share.
boards allow
Yeah.
for that. Yeah, every classroom is equipped.
That's
and
good.
all our
Although the technology, as you said, has changed so dramatically, our
Yeah.
tech team is bringing in model boards that have different functionalities,
That's
and they're
what I was
testing them in
thinking, I'm like, it's
classrooms.
different, yeah.
Yeah. They
That's
just
the
came from
more
the
modern.
MassQ conference, which
Yeah.
is a huge statewide tech conference.
They're really cool.
Yeah, these are interactive. You can write, you can use the internet, you can do all of
But you
that.
can
But
e-share, like you could share screens, and
Yep.
it's really, so that's exciting that we're getting that.
Yep.
We're getting that as long as everyone goes and votes on Tuesday.
Thank you for reminding me.
All right, so that's it for the tech capital plan, and that's all I have for tonight, and I think we're on to committee reports.
Okay, King Philip.
Yes, lots to report. I'll start with there's many wonderful student event happenings. The KP Music Marching Band program has been invited to has made it into the national championships. All of their sports teams are doing very, very well, so there's like really good morale there. We also had a very informative meeting with the lawyer, the district lawyer for KP, regarding some new laws that just came into effect yesterday regarding student discipline, which I know that you've shared some information on already, which was very fascinating. We also discussed the new law which made me think of BICO, that starting in fiscal year 24 budget, and maybe I'm reporting this wrong, but special ed private schools will be allowed to increase their tuition up to 14%. So that my understanding is that if we have an out-of-district student, that in the fiscal year 24, that tuition may go up to, increase up to 14%, which we talked about, that could significantly impact our budget because we are legally bound to pay for those private tuitions. So I thought that was interesting.
And there is some legislative action happening on trying to get that number down.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So we'll see. I thought that was interesting to keep an ear out too. Budget season is starting there. They have their subcommittee, so nothing really new to report there. And we went over MCAS scores, overall down. But we also discussed the number of interventions at the high school that are available for the kids a lot. We also discussed that, with MCAS, you can take it multiple times, through junior year, senior year. So that was interesting. We also went over the school improvement plan for middle school and high school. There was a large discussion, and we're going to come back and have the principals present on one of their main areas, which was regarding, they wrote a goal for DEI and the school committee requested more info on that, what exactly that looks like. So, long meeting, lots of stuff though, very good. So that's it.
Was there MCAS down but still on average meeting expectations? Just
No.
down from, they're not meeting expectations?
But do you mean like, did they pass,
They're-
like the
well,
majority of them?
The average MCAS score, I understand you said it was down, but did it dip down below to a not meeting expectation score?
Like overall, some of them, yes.
No, I mean the average, like they would tell you, what, Vicky, can you help me explain what I'm asking?
I'm like, a lot of kids didn't meet expectations.
scores are
Their
consistent with the
district-
state.
Their average score, like.
Yeah, I think
So it was because it's like middle school, they were all over the place. And my recollection, I did not bring my paperwork with me, was that the sophomore year got hit the hardest. 10th grade.
Yeah, so I think an average, like, and we'll do our MCAS report, I believe, next month, but throughout the state, there was a dip in ELA scores overall, and I think what you're asking is the number of students that were in proficient or exceeding probably reduced, and there was probably a little bit of a higher bump of kids that might have been in the needs improvement
Okay,
category.
that
I think
was
that was the
basically
question.
what I- yeah,
But
yeah,
it
just
is not
they all-
consistent, like, and there were certain grade levels, like we saw the previous year with mathematics, there were certain grade levels that were impacted heavier than others.
And that's
yeah.
what, like, at that 9th grade, 10th grade were higher than the middle school. They felt that the middle school actually did better in math because they had come up from a new math program.
Illustrative?
Yes, yep. So that we're all integrating now, all the elementary schools, so, but yeah. That's it.
Okay, any policy subcommittee updates?
Yes, I'll make this short and sweet, but we met just before this meeting. And last month, we had looked at the entrance age policy, and we looked at, again, discussed with Ingrid. We had incidental changes, so we plan on bringing it, the language, we just wanted to clarify a couple of items. Language is much clearer, so we'll bring that to the next school committee meeting and probably do it in a single vote. We also looked at bullying, discussed that a little further. Sarah and I had questions with the last, in the last meeting around it. We looked at the legal definition from the state, and it covers our concerns completely. So we're going to recommend there aren't any further modifications. So same thing, we'll recommend no changes and look at that for a vote in December. And then in our next, we looked at the mask policy newsletter, which is having us look at some changes to a number of policies, so we prioritize those together, and at our next meeting, we'll start reviewing those. That's pretty much covers it.
Okay. Thanks. All right, we have a couple more, if you flip to page 2, the fun continues. We have a couple more things to cover tonight. We have 2 school partnership renewal votes that we need to take. The first is for CPAC, who has been an amazing school partner, and I'm sure will continue to be an amazing school partner, as Ingrid alluded to earlier in the meeting. So we would just be looking for a motion to renew the school partnership with the Norfolk CPAC.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then similarly, we have a partnership renewal application from the Norfolk Community League, who does a ton of great work in town as well, and I think does some fundraising efforts and occasionally holds functions on school property as well. They just most recently, I think, did both the haunted car crawl and then my favorite event, the candy give back. I emptied all of the candy out of my house. So looking for a motion to renew the school partnership with the Norfolk Community League.
So moved.
And second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And we have one set of meeting minutes to review and approve this evening from October 11th, 2022. Was that a sparsely attended meeting? Or
Yes.
It
Jen
was.
and I were
I
both
wasn't there,
missing.
so I can't vote.
I couldn't either.
So I will be at your convenience looking for a motion from someone who was there.
I move to accept the minutes.
Okay, and then I need, okay, any further discussion amongst the small group of us that were there? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then last item is the next school committee meeting. We are looking at Wednesday, December 14th.
Wednesday?
Wednesday, December 14th.
Yeah,
During budget season, we do Wednesdays.
Yeah.
The only problem is I'll be coming in hot for the Friday, and they went late tonight, so.
Made it work.
I'll hold you up Wednesday.
I'm sure, Vicki, we can put the MCAS report towards the end so Jen doesn't miss it.
We can structure it that way.
You could start that right at 7.
Exciting topic. All right, does that work for everybody else?
Hold on, my calendar's in 2021 for some
It's
reason.
deep in that fun part of the year when there's 8 things going on.
My daughter has my phone, I don't know.
No, I'm good.
I think it looks good today.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to say it's good and move forward. So I would be looking in that instance for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I move to adjourn.
And a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, meeting is adjourned.